So 8114 is about Paul Early, who's a podcaster that might find himself in a little bit of hot water. So he takes a break from his podcast. He returns to his hometown when one of his friends summons him back home, and he discovers that one of their friends killed themselves in Paul's old house. It's a really messed up situation, and Paul wants to get down to the bottom of it and decides that he's going to launch another podcast to get to the bottom of what happened to his friend Kyle. And in the process of doing this, he unearths a ton of bad things about his old property, the house, his friends, and the town, and it just sort of takes him on a downward spiral. And he has to try and find his way out. That's 8114.
There's two things that I was thinking of, two different ways that I arrived at that I could start this conversation, and neither of them are directly about the book. And I think I'm going to go with the one where we had an interaction the other day where, as I was reading through it the other day, it was probably weeks ago now. By the way, I've got 8114 next to Mouth up on my bookshelf there. It's really far
awesome.
away. You can see it there.
Awesome.
So,
look at that. Yeah. Hell yeah.
But like for the people who are watching the video, the 8114 book cover is going to be up the whole time, so you can see all the beauty of it. But as I was reading through the book, you had made, the occasional movie reference, and I had caught. I don't remember what the actual quote was, but it was a very subtle, clever reference to the movie Hot Fuzz. And
yeah.
The way you said it, I was like, yeah, only people who have watched that multiple times probably would even catch that. And it's one of my movies where I'm not a huge. I know that you're like in film, and you're back behind you. The walls are just covered in movie posters, so I'm not.
Yeah,
a film junkie or anything, but Hot Fuzz, if you ask me, is one of the most perfect movies I've seen, and I can just watch that over and over again. And there's so many subtleties about the way it's made and the way that the dialogue works and the callbacks and everything. And so this movie that I kind of like low key revere, if it gets mentioned somewhere, first of all, it doesn't get mentioned somewhere, but if it does, it's like, it's something to call out. So
for sure,
just start this conversation by acknowledging this awesome Hot Fuzz reference. And is there anything?
No, I'm good with that.
Is there any, where is that just a reference that fit the story, or were you just
no, I'm a massive Edgar Wright fan. I'm such an Edgar Wright fan. Like, it's in my calendar that Scott Pilgrim turns 15 tomorrow.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm a massive Edgar Wright fan. And so the Three Cornettos is like my favorite trilogy. It's like my, I love Edgar Wright. So yeah. So it's anytime and so in the, how it's referenced in the book was, I'm just talking about a small town and people in robes, and I forget the exact quote, but I was like, this is the best way to do a subtle reference to Hot Fuzz, because you can't talk about the greater good without waiting for a bunch of people to sort of echo the greater good, and
exactly.
I just, so for me, it was just an automatic, definitely automatic nod to Hot Fuzz and Edgar Wright in general. Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, Edgar Wright for me, I had I'm trying to think. I realized how much I liked Edgar Wright after watching Scott Pilgrim like a million times, and then and then falling into Hot Fuzz and really enjoying that. And then when Baby Driver came out, seeing it in the theater, and actually in the theater watching that post heist one shot at the beginning of the movie that's timed to music and the graffiti and all the different elements that connect with what's going on with the music and the timing of everything. I was just so awestruck by the way that, and after watching it a few times, I'm like, okay, some of this looks a little obvious, but for the first viewing, I was like,
Right.
this is overwhelmingly like exciting to watch. And I watched it with a few people who were just kind of idiots about stuff, and like we're kind of like trashing it at the end, and then that made me like reflectively love it more.
Right, right. Well,
But
yeah, and I think that's like that's the kind of filmmaker Edgar Wright is, where you have to. It's a digestion, like you're like you go back for seconds and thirds, and you're like, oh my god, like for all of them, and that's the thing is he's such a great filmmaker.
yeah,
It's a massive inspiration for me in my writing and just in general. Like Scott Pilgrim's a big it's one of my favorite movies.
mhm,
But like Shaun of the Dead is the one that really obviously started it all. But yeah, yeah, he's just incredible, and he has his diehard fans, but the thing about him is he's still being discovered by like
yeah,
new people like all the time. Like Running Man coming out, it's going to be this whole new thing where people are going to not realize it's him and that's cool. So
yeah.
yeah.
One thing I like about him from a storytelling perspective is when he like does the thing where he tells you what's going to happen and then it
Hmm.
happens.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
the thing that comes to mind, I'm going back to Baby Driver when he's in the elevator with them and he's like, if you don't see me again, that means I'm dead or whatever. And then like
Right, right, right.
that comes true. And it's like, he fucking told you, but he
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
tell you in a way where it's like, he told you. He just, yeah, he does cool stuff like that.
yeah. That's it. Yeah. Oh, are we going? Is this going? Are we going? We're live. Are we
Yeah,
going?
this is
Okay.
going to
Yeah,
make the
yeah, yeah.
final cut. Yeah.
I was gonna say like before I got too geeky about that, especially Baby Driver, because like going off of what you said, the scene where he holds up like the Michael Myers mask, right,
Yeah.
and that whole thing when they're like Jason's the killer, like and he's like that's not
Yeah.
Jason, that's and then it's revealed geez, Madman, Madman,
Oh,
what's yeah,
Ham, John Ham.
Ham. His real name is Jason in the movie. Like his character's name is Jason, who ends up like killing all the people. It's pretty. It's just like
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah,
So
it's
good.
funny. So anyway, this is now just our Edgar Wright appreciation podcast. Like we're not we're not even going to talk about.
He, I had a moment where I was doing laundry at a laundromat one time, and in the on the TVs in the background, there like Jeopardy was playing or something, and the answer to the question was Japanese peace lily,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
I
That's
managed
awesome.
to take a picture of it, and
Yeah,
I tweeted about it, and he liked it, and I was like, all
that's
right,
awesome.
this guy's cool. So
So Hot Fuzz is your favorite of the trilogy, or is that?
of the Cornetto, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Although I haven't given enough time to World's End. I've watched it a couple of times, but
I'm in the very small minority where I think World's End is the best one. I
and
and it's my favorite one out of the three. I love them all, but
mm,
I think World's End is the best of the trilogy.
yeah,
Just because it's the growth of all those guys and like anyway. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I'm like, I just I know that if I were to watch it more, I would grow to the
sure.
appreciation the way that I've watched Scott Pilgrim 50
Yeah,
times, and
yeah.
like when I think on the 10th anniversary it was back in theaters, and I went to see it in the theater by
Mhm.
myself and all that. So like, yeah, like it would I would get there with that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I just
For sure.
haven't. And Baby Driver, I was talking about, is cursed because not only Kevin Spacey but now also Ansel Elgort is like
Yeah, yeah. It
persona non
seems.
grata.
Yeah, yeah. That's which. Yeah, he talked about doing that sequel for so long, and I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, just
Um, probably shouldn't. Probably should just
probably
let it
shouldn't.
be. Yeah.
I liked,
So
okay, and this I'll not nerd about this anymore, but too much. But I liked the reveal of what Baby's name was at the end of the movie, and it was very on point.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
so,
That was that was the first one I think he shot in Atlanta too. So it was like really
yeah,
cool to see him utilize just those locations. It was really
yeah.
neat. Yeah,
He he does not like, nothing's extraneous when that guy tells a story. Everything matters.
it,
Everything is
every little aspect.
used.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
that's yeah. It's
But that's how it
something that
should be, and that's the thing is I think there's so much extra fluff that goes into like storytelling and filmmaking and anything, but like and it's going to be there, it's going to have to be there. But he's such a smart writer that he
Yeah.
knows how to actually like make every little thing matter.
Mhm.
And that's the cool thing. Yeah.
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 So, yeah.
so,
All right. So
so check
that
back next week for our breakdown of,
that's, yeah, but I don't get an opportunity. Two things. I don't get an opportunity to talk about Edgar Wright very much because it's a horror,
yeah. Yeah.
primarily horror focused podcast, horror fiction books. But then also, it's my fucking thing and I can do whatever I want to.
Yeah,
So,
you get, there's no rules. There's no rules.
yeah, this is, I choose how this goes. Um, the other way I was going to start the conversation that didn't have a direct connection with 8114, but it had a tangential connection with it, is the idea of there being like a podcast as like a framing element for the story. And so when we did our second of the year horror preview episode, your book got mentioned, and Becky Spratford was talking about one of the things she liked about it was like how the podcast got worked into it. And it kind of touches on a few things, but like, where are you with podcasts in general? Like, and what about a podcast kind of fit what you were trying to do?
Thank you for that. I know I thanked all you for mentioning the book on that, but again, thank you. Yeah, so I obviously my podcast experience is just doing a lot of them throughout the years, just for the film stuff and for the book stuff.
Sure.
So there's that when I felt like I had a decent understanding of sort of how they worked. Not obviously I'm not an expert. I'm sure there's going to be some people that read the book that are going to be like, this guy doesn't know what he's, but on the other hand, I think it's become such a tool for uh, how news is
Yeah.
or heard these days. Like it's become such a reliable source for a lot of people. And there's like I have friends that listen to NPR's podcast every morning. And there's things like that. But so it's become that source of news for a large amount of people. But at the same time, it could also go horribly wrong, right?
Yeah.
And these are the Netflix documentaries, some of them, and so I just felt like it was, especially for this story and for that character, for Paul, I felt like it was the perfect sort of middle line that if this story was to turn either way, either good or bad for Paul, I felt like podcast was the perfect way for him to have his voice in this world, whatever that world ended up being,
Yeah.
right, for this guy. And I felt like it just sort of mirrored how a lot of things go in this day and age, and how a lot of people kind of go about like judging things, or like getting their, like how they, like if you listen to this podcast, you probably are believing a lot of what these hosts are saying, right?
Yeah.
And nobody's really listening to a podcast to be like, yeah, I don't think you're right about that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a few, but for the most part, you're trusting these hosts and these programs to entertain you and educate you, and so that was really sort of the avenue that I just felt like it was perfect for Paul Early to live his life.
Well, it also, the podcast that he chooses to do is called Adam Benny is Missing. And
Yeah.
I had it written down. And I was trying to make it look like I wasn't looking at my notes, but I
well, I just as long as you can't tell that I was actually trying to remember what the podcast was called, and I couldn't, so like it's fine, it's good. Listen,
I'm 46 years old. I need to look at notes. I'm not going to apologize.
I wrote the book 46 years ago. I'm not going to remember every little detail. Listen.
So it's but it's Adam Benny is Missing, and it's a true crime kind of series is what it's kind of set up as, about this person that Paul Early went to school with, and it goes terribly wrong, but there is, whether intended or not, a little bit of a commentary about how we do true crime, and like that, because it's podcast, because it's like it's a
non-visual format, like it's
right.
So yeah.
But but also it's not, I don't want to say regulated, but isn't like quality checks. Like people
Oh
can
yeah,
just
yeah. No, that's great. It's a great
say,
point.
yeah,
Hmm.
people can say whatever they want to as fact if they want to. And that kind of goes to what you're saying is like, this is how we get our information. Um, there's been a point where I've talked to, and what comes to mind is Josh Chaplinsky's Letters to the Purple Satin Killer,
Hmm. Hmm.
which was like kind of true crime uh, uh, criticism or whatever writ large, because like that's the whole thing is like sensationalizing an actual killer. But I feel like as time has gone on, people have had to kind of police their own feelings or how they take in that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
whether you really were looking to do that or not, especially with the backlash that Paul gets when the podcast goes wrong, there's almost like a bit of a a commentary on sometimes people do these true crime things because they want to just get attention, not because they care about the
Right.
victims or whatever it happens
Right.
to be. So there was kind of
Right.
that going on
Right.
too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Um,
definitely that, especially with, and I think it is reckless in nature for and that wasn't necessarily a stretch for Paul to say I'm going to choose this subject matter of somebody I went to elementary school with, and now it's so many years later, and without doing an ounce of like even investigative, like like there's a thing of oh, I think this is a nugget that could be a cool show, and we see that is possibly a problematic habit of his that is repeated, where he doesn't really think things through. He just kind of goes for it,
yeah.
and hopes for the best, but it you know could, usually does not go well for him.
Well, the other thing that happened to me, podcast related, when I was reading this book was kind of a harsh reality that I needed to face, which was that podcasting is something that could uh, encourage or be more open to people who are kind of narcissistic or self-serving. Like, um, and I was like, I had to check myself. I'm like, am I doing all this just because I wanted attention or to talk to cool people or something? Like it, and I know you didn't write this like, oh, this is going to fuck with Rob, but
No, I
um,
did that. That was actually like that was the final afterword, but it was like I finally took it out. I was like, yeah, it was actually like, fuck you, Rob. I hope you feel shitty about this, right? And then I took it out. Like, yeah, I was like, ah, I don't. I'm sure he's already judging himself for this. No,
yeah, no, I had that though. I had that experience where I was like, oh shit, am I like this? Am I just uh,
well, but I
trying
think
to?
I think everybody, like I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think like it's not commentary on that, but I think anybody who podcast or creative of any kind who decides they're going to tackle something like a podcast or a book or a film or anything like that, they have to sort of like hold themselves to a certain standard that they are going to be able to entertain
Yeah,
a small group of people, right? Or else like you like we wouldn't do what we wanted to do. So I think there has to be like a small, like maybe 2%, of like I'm
some
important,
some ego
yeah,
has to
yeah,
exist
yeah.
somewhere in
But
there. Yeah,
because you wouldn't want to put yourself out there if you didn't, and like that's for everybody. I think that's
yeah,
like that's not a bad thing either. I think that's confidence, and I think that's just the urge to entertain people and to educate people. Again, it goes back to like the essence of podcasting in general, or just how people interact with information.
yeah.
So yeah,
I like that Paul kind of stumbled into it, maybe not being fully aware of, like,
yeah.
just like it felt like an innocent concept in his head. Like, if I do this thing where I'm trying to talk about this tragedy, everybody will appreciate it.
Yep.
And it read like there wasn't a thought in his head that like, oh, maybe this could go poorly.
Right. Yeah. No. And that's exactly Paul is it's echoed over and over again. Is he every decision that he makes that he thinks is going to be helpful or maybe get to the bottom of some sort of mystery. It's just
Yeah,
he should think about things a little more. I think is is the point. Yeah.
yeah. but he's, to anybody who's listening this far, is still a likable character. Like,
Is
you
he?
know,
Yeah, yeah, he is.
to a degree, you're like, oh, I hope he hope he figures this out.
he's he's that's it's been a fun thing to see everybody's like how they react to Paul, because like everybody's different, and that's um some people really don't like the guy, and some people think he's somewhat charming. Other people think he's very annoying and childish, and talks like a child. And I'm like, hey, that's me. Like I talk about, like that's I'm like, yeah. But no, so it's been funny to see the response,
Yeah.
and entertaining for sure.
Well, that actually did occur to me. I'm like, not the character flaws, which we will talk about different, because I'm going to get real serious at some point about what
I
I'm
don't.
trying to see
when
which.
when you say you're gonna get real serious, and I was just like, my face is just like, oh, okay, because anybody who knows me knows I'm a very serious person. So I'm ready. I'm ready to dig in.
Well, I will. Yeah. All right. Let's just do the serious thing first. So,
All right, let's do it.
here's why I think that this person who is questionably bad or good or whatever, but is the protagonist that we have to follow, I think he reads as relatable more than likable. And here's what I picked up from that character: big, really big, like tall, block letter, tons of shame,
Mm-hmm,
and just a total inability to look at or acknowledge or process trauma from his early life.
mm-hmm,
And so this is a character who has built an entire existence around not being who he is. And
mm-hmm,
so the thing that fills in the gaps are stuff like movie references and probably low stakes things that like don't have a lot of possibility of having a big failure if things go wrong.
mm-hmm,
Like, it seems like this is a guy who's living very surface level because there's a
mm-hmm,
ton of stuff that he just cannot bring himself to think about. Um, and so I think that even though he's kind of shitty and kind of bumbling, he's a lot of us in a lot of
mm-hmm,
ways. And so,
mm-hmm,
like, we can't help but see, like, I've been there, and like it wasn't easy. So I feel like
for sure.
that's what I was
Yeah,
getting at this character.
100%. And he's also a guy that has, everything that you said is 100% true. But also there's the fact that he's a guy that also cuts off everybody in his life, right? Like
Yeah.
he's cut off everybody. So like he lives on an island because it's for him easier to get through life, not wanting people to either count on him or people to be hurt by him. And so it's so when he actually does actually sort of turn a leaf there and show back up at home, and he starts interacting with all these people that he is sort of cut off, and it's in actually giving a bit of effort into these relationships for the first time in years, and being open to maybe these friendships and maybe other things rekindling, that
Mm-hmm.
everything how it plays out is classic Paul, what Paul feared the most, right? And like
Yeah.
and that's the thing is it's it's a commentary on the desire to change, but also how, regardless of what you kind of put in motion years before, and how like trauma or doubt or any of these things that Paul or people in general have gone through, like it's all going to catch up at some point, and for better or worse,
Yeah.
it could catch up good, it could catch up bad. And so that's the thing about, he's a flawed character for sure, but he's also like, he's who we're stuck with, and
Yeah.
you're with him through this entire journey, whether you want to be or not. And hopefully people choose to be with him until the end of the book. But I also understand if people are like, I don't want to hang out with this guy for 250 pages, and so yeah. But you're right on with your observations for sure.
Yeah. And I would say that, because I said earlier he's kind of all of us, but really what more specifically I mean is, like, if we haven't seen that inside of ourselves, we have definitely had someone in our lives who's had that. And
Yep.
so like that's been in all of our lives. And so um I guess yeah, like the people who maybe don't want to live in that for a couple hundred pages are the people who had a really bad experience or whatever, but
Or a really good experience, and
or
and
yeah.
they didn't, and those assholes didn't go through any trauma. So no, no, no.
Yeah.
I just, but the other thing is like his sense of humor is very much it's me because like that's how I deal with heavy shit.
Fear.
Like I'm
Yeah.
always joking about stuff. Like for better, like it doesn't always do me good when I joke about stuff,
Yeah.
and so that's the thing is I had to put that part of myself into him because if I was in this situation, I would be making jokes the whole time, and I talk about that a lot with my writing and screenwriting or with fiction and stuff. Is there's always, regardless of what the story is, there's always a character who's going to be wanting to make a joke in something, and and
Yeah.
that's and that it would be unrealistic if there wasn't that sort of character that made us inappropriate joke about something. Even maybe even one time in a whole haunted house
Yeah.
thing, he would make a joke. But there's always somebody in a story that's doing that. So yeah, I they're just a little heavier in my stuff.
Sure.
They're just at the forefront.
I want to go into that a little bit more, but when you said there's always in stories like someone that's going to make a joke or whatever, I thought of this is my favorite example of that kind of thing, and it's so weird, and I don't think you would guess it, but it's Shane Black's character in Predator.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Like that's perfect example of like they are, and Predator is like an interesting thing to examine, and I think it was Jason Pargin who recently did a thing about how Predator is like kind of underappreciated for what it actually was trying to do, and it's because it was like a parody of like macho movies in the
Like
80s or
Macho
whatever.
Man, yeah, 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 yeah.
But like that, yeah. So Shane Black before he was Shane Black, fucking Lethal Weapon Shane Black,
Right,
and
right, right,
the
right.
Nice Guys Shane Black, he was one of the just grunts and Predator, and his whole shtick before he died was like just constantly making jokes, and but
Yep.
like jokes about like his girlfriends, like very sexual jokes about his girlfriend and stuff, and it was if it was like normal jokes or like dad jokes or whatever, I think I would have glossed over it. But it was so obvious that this guy was just
Right,
like
right,
going hard at this jokes that didn't make sense in the situation.
right.
That's why it's
I think,
memorable to me.
yeah, yeah. No, and a lot of people give, a lot of people give the Marvel movies shit for that
Yeah,
same exact thing that's been in these action movies forever, and
yeah,
it's just far more, because a lot more people are watching Marvel movies than the original Predator. So it's like, you're
yep,
not catching on that this is just a part of of genre storytelling and storytelling in general is
yeah,
humor in inappropriate times, in dark times.
mhm, yeah,
So yeah,
and,
that's a perfect
and
example. Shane
yeah,
Black.
and I just love. I could just talk about Shane Black and Predator all day long because it's so weird.
We'll do that one, but we'll make it the Nice Guys podcast instead of instead
I
of the
can't
Edgar Wright. We just talk about the Nice Guys nonstop.
I can't tell you like so. This is a real tangent, but the my day job. One of the things that it was some sort of weird thing where like when they moved into the offices, a movie memorabilia thing used to be there, and
Oh
so
wow.
all these movie posters were left behind, and so they're like, let's just put them on the wall. But it grew into this tradition where they ask everybody when they're hiring them or interviewing them, what's your favorite movie? And so Nice Guys was my answer. And so they put movie posters up where you
Oh,
work.
that's
Like
awesome.
for
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
it's like a this big little movie poster at my desk. If you have an office, they frame like an actual full size
Oh,
movie
that's
poster.
awesome. That's
So
incredible.
yeah, Nice Guys is my
Hell
is
yeah,
my
that's awesome. That's awesome.
I love that movie. I can't say
It's
enough
a
good
great
things.
movie. It's a great movie, and it's a crime we never got a sequel.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
I feel if we got it right now, like because Gosling's in that era right now, where like he'll anything that he makes is going to make a gazillion dollars, right?
Yep.
But it's like I think it was too. First of all, there's no such thing as too early in the Gosling train, but I think it was. I don't think he was quite general public Ryan Gosling like he is
Yep.
now.
Yeah.
And I think once all these new fans discover the nice guys, they're going to be like
Yeah,
demanding,
clamoring. Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Oh
like
my god.
begging. Yeah.
Yeah, you imagine like a 10 years later, in the '80s kind of thing. It'd be
Oh, it'd
so
be
much fun.
incredible. Have you read the novelization?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway. Anyway, here we go.
It was yeah. I had a suspicion we might do this, um, which is totally fine because usually I
Yeah.
don't kind of digress into film. But
Yeah. Great movie.
um,
Fantastic movie.
back to
I
where
think
that
I think I think
digression.
I actually put that in my when New York Times was doing their top 10 of the last 25 years or whatever. I think Nice Guys is I think made it my top 10
Oh
on my
yeah,
list. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's so. Oh man. So all right, this is gonna fill. We're gonna do one more thing, and this is gonna decide whether like how synced we are on our film and television thing.
Okay. Okay.
Um, what's your feeling on the TV show Justified?
So here's the deal. I got to be honest. I've never really seen it. I've never really watched it. I don't watch a lot of TV though. Like I don't.
Yeah.
So it's but Justified, I think maybe I've seen a few episodes. I was gonna start it when Tarantino was doing the whole bit when he was coming back to do it or whatever. But then I never even got around to watching that. So yeah, I have failed you. I can tell.
You failed yourself, is what you did. Like,
But but like I've never done Breaking Bad. I've never done
oh yeah, yeah,
Mad Men. I've never done Mad Men. So like
sure.
anytime the big shows, I'm just like I haven't done them yet. Maybe one day I'll do them. But
I'm with that. I have also not seen Breaking Bad or like Mad Men or there's
yeah,
a lot of stuff. There's a lot of gaps in my
yeah, yeah,
viewing.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so you are forgiven, but
Thank you.
Justified is
but yeah.
is one
No,
of those
yeah,
things.
no, that's yeah. I do want to get to that one. That one is probably like the one that I need to get to the most. I think.
And I know that Walton Goggins is a really
Hmm.
big name right now, but
Hmm.
you won't see a better Walton Goggins than in Justified, is what I'm going to say. Confidently
Yeah,
say.
I would. Okay, I mean that's pretty. Without me seeing it, right? That's. You're knocking out Baby Billy from Righteous Gemstones.
I
You're
am.
knocking out, Vice Principals. You're knocking out. You're knocking out his, which I think he's. Everybody forgets that he was in House of a Thousand Corpses, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I think he's fantastic. That's one of my favorite bits that he's done is that role. But anyway, it's like Baby Billy is like the level, and if you're saying he's better in Justified, then okay,
Well, I
I
haven't
might,
seen Righteous Gemstone, so maybe
okay, all
I'm
right. See, now
speaking
we're
out.
even. Now we're
Yeah.
even.
So yeah. So. But all right. So we tangented off of talking about humor in situations where it doesn't
Yep.
necessarily fit. And I guess, but that's a realistic and relatable thing too, because like when my father passed away, which was 20 years ago, so this is not a fresh wound. Um, in the funeral
My
home.
dad just died yesterday, so it is no. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. My dad.
Holy shit!
So,
Um, um, you're gonna, yeah. Well, anyway,
that humor in dark moments. See,
that's it. Well, okay, you just proved it. You proved the point. So, um, I was quoting Big Lebowski in the funeral home, like,
oh wow, okay,
because in my mind I was like,
hmm
this is my chance.
yeah,
But it was definitely not what should be going on in a funeral home. But like,
but it's how
that's
you
just
cope, right? It's like how
it's a
you,
natural,
yeah,
yeah. So I think that's a really
exactly,
relatable thing as well. Yeah.
perfect, yeah, no, I agree, yeah,
um, another thing I wanted to talk about is, and I don't know what if there is an official term for what I'm talking about, but what I've always kind of referred to it as is spoiled earth. So
oh yeah, okay,
just the idea that a specific area is tainted by something, and
yeah,
that is something that, and then I don't know how much I don't think that spoils anything, and we can walk it back if it
no,
does.
no,
But
no, 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 I think Yeah, no, I don't think it's a spoiler. I also like, at this point, I think spoilers are. I don't know what you can spoil in the book that. Yeah, I mean, I don't
That
know.
would
I
take
don't think
away
it's
from the
spoiler. Yeah,
experience, but
I don't.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very much like, um, if anything, I think spoilers will help the read sometimes because there's going to be answers that are definitely going to be more clear after multiple reads. Not that I'm expecting people to read the book more than once, but or even once. But there are certainly, I think, if you go back. So yeah, yeah. Spoilers. I'm not too worried about spoilers.
Cool.
I think in the end, it just they sort of help.
Well, my approach has always been I'm as worried about spoilers as you. So, but but the idea of like a tainted ground, like
Mhm,
a ground that
mhm,
is infected by an evil or
mhm,
I was talking to Chris Panettiere about his book Shit Show that's coming up, and that this was kind of a topic with him too, where like it's like enough bad stuff happened here that it's
mhm,
lingering and it's
mhm,
infecting and it's having an effect. And
mhm.
where's that come from for you? Like, why did you want that to be a part of the story?
Well, it's just a part of the story. Like it's gonna sound like I'm saying this just to like drum up but genuinely like the 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 8114 property itself is very tainted with a lot of bad stuff that has happened on it and around it. And then the town of Pendleton itself is very much in the same way, where a lot of sort of just like any small town or any town, a lot of this stuff happens. And but I remember one of my first real jobs outside of high school was at some sort of factory. Assembly line thing. And my friend and I worked there, and we were talking about 8114 and all the weird stuff that had happened there, all these things that him and I, and he is actually the inspiration for Kyle. Like,
Oh, okay.
so, and we were talking to this woman about who worked there, and she said she was like a medium or something like that, and she ended up doing some research and talking to a bunch of people and found out that the actual 8114 property they used to kill, that's where they would take all the Native Americans that they killed, and they would bury them
No.
in that property out there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so
Oh my
this was,
god.
and I was like, holy shit, this explains so much, and so, and then in the process of like starting the book after I had, so it was all really spawned by a nightmare I had where this friend, who inspired Kyle, killed himself at the property, and so it was all launched from a nightmare that I had, scariest nightmare I've ever had in my
Oh,
life.
Jesus.
And so when I started the process of developing it out as a book, I went to the local library and I started reading the history book, like all the history of Pendleton, the town of Pendleton, and then they actually had this police log that you could and look up all the history of like arrests and things that happened. And there was so many things connected to that side of town, so many things that had that murders and all these things. Essentially, a lot of the ghouls and spirits that pop up in the book, those were all pulled from real life things that happened in and around that property. And so the idea of growing up there and knowing all the stuff that my family and I experienced while there and have still experienced, and friends that everybody that experienced things, but also going like hand in hand with what I know the history of the town is, and what I know
Yeah.
the history of that property after I talked to that woman, and then and so that was really it just had to be there because that was the experience. But and then as you kind of go, and I sprinkle in references, like Pet Cemetery and Poltergeist, which are both soiled ground stories,
Yep.
and those aren't accidental references, and so yeah, that it really just I went with it because that's the story, like that's what it is. That's what that place is you know a bad place. It's not a great it's so yeah.
Here, I thought I was reading a fiction book. It sounds like
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, yeah. It's I keep telling this to people, but I'm like, you'll be surprised what's actually real in the book and what's not. A lot of
yeah.
people think a lot of this stuff is embellished and created, and really it's all pulled from actual experiences and situations for the
Wow,
most part.
that's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
You mentioned going to the library, and so I have
Mhm.
to give credit for one of the characters in the book, which was the um,
Nancy.
the history
Yeah, yeah,
knowledge
yeah, yeah.
aspect of the book, which was like Nancy Hart,
Yep.
and I was like, I love a story. This is a selfish thing, but I love a story that either uses some sort of museum person or a
Hmm. Hmm.
librarian as
Hmm.
like um, the
Yeah.
repository of knowledge, because those people, like, their job is to give a shit about things that like no one gives a shit
Nobody
about,
else gives a shit about, right? Yeah.
right, so that they can do exactly that.
Hmm.
So they're just like unsung heroes a lot of the times. And so
Yep.
this Nancy Hart character, you even painted her so beautifully as this person who like everybody kind of remembered, but was just kind of like, oh, that's just the person there, and like
Right.
ends up being so instrumental in this insane story that doesn't make any sense in reality. But
Right.
she's the one that actually could help because she paid
Right.
attention. And I
Right.
love that about that character. That's such a cool way to do
Oh,
that.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Inspired by a real person, and that museum. I mean, that museum's a real place. Like that's all. Like down to the arrowheads in the case and the Afghan and like that's all real and all. Like I actually tried to. This is very funny. I tried to set up a book signing there for it, and it kind of went through like the. They were like, we got to talk to like the committee or whatever it was, and it went, and I was like, oh, is it going to happen? Because this would be really neat. And then they got back and they were like, yeah, they don't think it's a very good idea to do this. And I was like, yeah, I get it. It's a pretty dark book, but yeah, I so initially that section and her character were going to play a much bigger role in what would happen from her introduction on. So initially, that was going to be my sort of the fisherman, John Langan esque
Yeah,
section of the book, where it was going to be the front half was going to be Paul like coming home, going there. Then that was going to be a whole middle section, and then we were going to catch back up with Paul. But to me, it slowed down the pace of the book, and it wouldn't make sense to break. We're with Paul, so there was a
yeah,
lot of that creative decision to go into it. But at the same time, I felt like Nancy, the shorter she was there, the bigger impact she would have.
sure,
I think it played out, and she is such a she's almost like his last chance, and it still goes that Paul way where he's just not listening. He's
yep,
making jokes, and he has this last beacon of hope and light. Like, dude, I'm telling you, if you do not if
yeah,
like you do not stop to just take a breath, this is going to go so bad. And you know and yeah, she was a lot of fun to write, and she's and genuinely, I I wish her section was bigger, but at the same time, I think it made sense to keep it where how it stays.
yeah. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
That I think, yeah, it played well, and maybe I think, yeah, she resonates well because of that. Um, yeah, but that was, yeah, it was one of my.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Are
yeah.
you
No,
getting
thank you. I
other
appreciate you saying that.
people? Are you getting other people saying like, "Oh, Nancy's awesome" or anything, or was I the
Yeah, yeah,
first?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna,
yeah,
yeah. A lot of people like Nancy. A lot of people like Nancy, which is, and that's the thing is there are a lot of likable characters in the book. I think
yeah,
to counteract the fact that like you're interacting with a lot of wonderful people. I think even to a certain extent, Paul, there's some wonderful moments there with him. But yeah, I think she's definitely the beacon of light in the book. I think for just
yeah.
that chunk that she's there.
So I'm going to hard pivot to the fact that this book is scary as hell, man, and we haven't really acknowledged. We've been talking for like almost 45 minutes, and I haven't acknowledged that it's scary, and it's really gruesome. And
Yep.
the way that my mind kept connecting was like, oh, this feels like a movie. This feels like a movie.
Hmm.
So like,
Hmm.
there's a point where someone um, dies involving a car window,
Hmm.
and um, like,
Yeah.
so I guess, well, you're not really worried about spoilers. So, and this is
Yeah.
not,
Yeah. No.
it's
No.
not a
Yeah.
minor, and then, but like this Paul's trying to get away from this place, and this woman comes out and she's talking to him in his car, but then she like smashes her head against the glass and like does something to basically like decapitate herself.
Yeah.
And it's really gruesome, but in my mind I was like, I can see this happening. I can see the the I could it was very visual, and
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's kind of owing to the fact that like you have written for film and stuff, but um a lot of this had, in my mind, I'm like, the people who are going to really like the death parts and the gore parts and stuff are people who like horror movies,
Right. Right.
because it's got that feel to it. And I don't know
Yeah. Yeah.
if, now I'm like questioning myself, does it feel different with horror book deaths? But like, do you get what I'm going with here?
Yeah. So I genuinely, um, I wanted to match the intensity of that nightmare. Like I wanted, when I set out to write the book, I said I want to write this to be as scary as I experienced whatever that was, right? And I also wanted to challenge myself to see if I could write jump scares, because that's very hard to make
Yeah.
people scared of a book, right? Like, and I don't know if it was working, right? Like I would write, and there was a bit of a conversation early on with Lisa about if it was too much, and if it was too like, if we, like, especially with the baby stuff, if it was too much.
Yes.
But I also, to me, there's no such thing, especially with this story involving all the, what, like, the legacy and the lore and everything, and to match the intensity of that dream, it had to be intense. And so I really didn't know if it was connecting, like if you were watching a horror movie, right? Like I didn't know if it was
Yeah.
connecting like that until a lot of the people in my close circle were reading the first, like, probably 8 or so chapters, and then I started getting the, like, what the fuck, man? Like, this
Yeah.
is intense. And so, but you also think, okay, well, these are people close to me, so I don't know. I'm sure there's a decent amount of honesty there, but there's also, like, and so I think once the advanced copies started going out and people really started reacting in a visceral, like, some angry people, like, I was like, oh, okay, it they do. I guess it worked, to write those scenes the way I did and to film, but it is because of, I wanted to honor them as visually as I could with this style, right? Like,
Yeah.
in screenwriting and this fiction writing are so different from each other, and so I was doing my best to kind of marry them and
Yeah.
hope that it paid off, and so I think there's a few scenes that it really does pay off. That the car window scene being one of them, I believe, and a few others. And so, yeah, it was, yeah, I think I'm very happy with the reaction, and how scared this book is making people. I
Yeah.
remember one of the I don't know if it was on NetGalley or if it was on just Goodreads, but somebody was like, they chose this to be the first ever horror book they ever read. Like, they were like, and and they were like, I've been sleeping with the lights on for a week. And I was like, why would you do that for, like, there's so many better horror books, like, why you should choose those. But at the same time, I was like, what, that's a hell of a choice to make for your first one, because this is not the nice horror book, yeah. So anyway, yeah, thank you for saying that. I really had a blast writing the scares and the scenes and the, and if it ever does translate to a movie, we'll see if it has the same impact.
Well, I want to go down the baby route. because we can't. You open
Can't
that door,
I
so
listen? You can't talk about the book without talking about the babies. And I think that would be yeah, we would be doing a not a favors to the audience if we did
right.
it.
Well, so one of the plot points is they're called the Women of
Yep,
Light,
women of
and
light.
there's a specific woman in the lore called the Blackened Lady,
Mm-hmm.
and I liked that the introduction of these ladies was like it was a bunch of ladies that were getting shit on by society who were like, we're
Mm-hmm.
fed up with this. We're going to take matters in our own hands to get what we want. And we don't care what we have to do to get it. It's kind
Right.
of the feeling I got from them. And so, like, part of it ended up being that, like, you're sacrificing a child to, like,
Mm-hmm.
get what you want. And so, like, that is something that happens in the book. There's children being
Yep.
sacrificed, not
Yep. Yep.
once,
No.
like a lot,
No.
like a lot.
Yeah, too many times. I
Um,
would I would complain to the author that there are way too many children
you
dying
have
in this book. Probably
per-
whoever wrote this is a fucking weirdo.
perfect number of child sacrifices.
Perfect, just a
Perfect
perfect.
number.
It is like the working title was "Fuck Them Kids," the novel. Like it was genuinely, it was. Yeah, no,
Well,
yeah.
what
Sorry, I cut
springs
you. I cut you off.
no, you're good. What springs to mind, and I hope you take this as a great compliment. Have you ever read the novelization of The Lords of Salem?
I have, yeah, I had. That's first of all, that's my favorite Rob Zombie movie. It's a masterpiece.
It's great. Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, I have the novel. Yeah, I love the book. I have it.
So,
It's like right behind me. Yeah.
so I feel like so I saw the movie and then read the novelization,
Mhm.
and I believe that Brian Evenson really elevated that story in a way.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
But the opening scene in the book is a bunch of witches doing a
Hmm.
ritual where a baby is delivered, and when
Hmm.
they discover the baby isn't what they want it to be, they
Right. Right.
very brutally kill that
Yep.
brand new born baby.
Yep.
And the way he wrote it was like, this is the opening of the story. This is where he's
Yeah.
starting. This is a
Yep.
promise. And like,
Yep.
is he going to be able to deliver on it? And I think he really did. But the way that you do that in your book is echoes of, not like saying it was inspired by, but like echoes that kind of thing in a lot of ways. And so that's a really good thing because
Yeah.
Evenson
Yeah. No,
is
that's awesome. No, I
is
really appreciate.
brilliant.
Yeah. 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 No,
Um,
I, I'm kind of gonna blow your mind here, and this is not gonna, maybe it's not gonna blow your mind. Because there is a certain amount of people that don't believe in like paranormal or a
yeah.
lot of this stuff, right? But there is another chunk of people that do. I very much do. A lot of people in my life do. The hanging baby is a true thing. The hanging baby is a
Oh my
thing
god.
that the friend who's inspired by Kyle, we used to hang out at those barns all the time. Like at night, we'd all run around, like Ghost and Graveyard. We do all, they were scary as shit, like the place. But we were in the downstairs of the big barn, and we heard a loud bang, just like it happens in the book. And we ran upstairs and we looked up, and we just all there was like 3 or 4 or 5 of us that all saw this baby just swinging from the rafters, and it was terrifying. And then it was gone. And so when I started developing the novel, I mean I wrote down every experience that I had or somebody that I knew had, and the hanging baby was the very first chapter that like I knew the hanging baby was going to play a huge role in whatever happened. And like the Blackened lady is another real thing. She's a real thing that's out there. That's a very real spirit that is. Not only have but lots of people in my life lately have had experiences with her. I mentioned in the afterword that my younger brother didn't even realize that she was in the book, and he was telling me about his experience with this black haired
Wow.
lady who follows you around. I was like, she's in the book, and he was like, what do you mean she's in the book? So anyway,
Jesus.
so the hanging baby is definitely true. Like that's pulled from a straight experience that we all had out there.
Oh my
Terrifying.
god.
Yeah.
So Brian Evenson pulled from your life is
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah, yeah,
hearing.
yeah. So yeah, freaking Brian. No, yeah, Brian and Rob Zombie, man, just coming and stealing ideas from my big bar. No. But no, I do. Lords of Salem is a masterpiece. I get so much shit for that, but I think that movie is genuinely a masterpiece. I love it.
uh, on first viewing, I thought it was fine. On subsequent viewings, I think I got it more.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of you gotta live with it a little while to like really get it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, but
yeah,
I think it's where he really, and unfortunately he it's where his confidence level and as a filmmaker, where like I'm bringing you all my knowledge that I have as a lifelong horror fan. I'm gonna make this thing that I want to make, and it was awesome, and it cast all these horror icons, which he always does, right? But it's like you get
yeah,
Dee Wallace in there, and you get and all these people, and then it's like his fan base turned on him for it. And so he just went right back to doing the other stuff, which is
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
But it's like, man, I sort of wish we would have got that Rob Zombie that came after Lords of Salem, where he was going to do like the hockey move, right? He was going to do like a hockey comedy, and he was going to do a bunch of other things.
yeah,
I think he was eager to sort of grow as this guy, and I don't think he got the chance because the reaction to that movie, unfortunately. But I think history is going to be kind to that movie
yeah, yeah. I
eventually,
agree. Yeah.
hopefully.
Um. So yeah, gruesome.
So,
Like,
Hanging Baby, yeah. So sorry, we were talking about killing kids.
dude. Um. I did not expect. So I did not expect that everything I bring up, um, is you're going to be like that. That's true. That's real.
Yeah.
But that brings up something that's not part of the story, but part of the book was you did this really cool thing at the end because I feel like you kind of honor Pendleton in a way
Mhm.
because you do this thing where you're talking about the different locations that were mentioned or that you recommend people visit
Mhm.
if they go to that town, which is a real town. And I thought this is great, like because it's actually kind of the opposite of what Paul does, where Paul just takes a real thing and uses it.
Right.
And
Right.
what you did was you represented something in an obviously hopefully fictional way. Now I'm second guessing
Now you're
that,
questioning everything. Now you're like, yeah.
but in a way that you ultimately respect the place and
Yeah.
are deferent toward it. But you tell people not to go to that house. Like you tell people not to go to that house. And
Right.
I will like I went to that house in as much as I went in my maps app
Yeah.
and I like zoomed in as much as I could on like the
Yeah.
satellite view.
Yeah.
And even the satellite view looks really creepy, like real
Yeah.
creepy.
Because when I started writing it, I hadn't been out there for a little bit. Even though I still like I live like less than 5 minutes away from the house still, but I just hadn't been out there. I hadn't been out there a long time, and so when I started, and I was really like I didn't want to go out there, especially after the nightmare. I was like, fuck that. I don't want to go out to that place. And so I did. I did the whole Google Map thing, and for a minute I had this fear of like, oh my god, what if I'm looking at the map and like some freaking thing jumps out at me from the map, or and so and I almost put something like that in the book, but I didn't. I thought it was going to be a little too hokey, which is funny considering some of the stuff that's in there. But and so yeah, but to echo what you said, looking at it via like Google Map or whatever, it's scary as hell. Like it's like I don't know why you would want to look at it and then be like, yeah, I'm gonna still go there.
Yeah.
Or even the picture in the back of the book. It's like, I try to tell people, uh, stay away. I also like the local police force are very much like, stay away from that. Nobody go to that house. Like they are very much like, just like they are in the book.
Yeah.
They very much do not appreciate when people go out there. But it is, but to echo what you said, yes, it does honor Pendleton. And that was sort of my goal. I didn't want to paint it, the town. I still would never want to do that. Is paint them in a bad light or paint the history in a bad light. And I think it's a cool place. It's a cool town, and it's a unique place just because of the historical aspect.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, I've lived here the majority of my whole life, and I love this place. I love a lot of the rest. I love not a lot of the restaurants, but a lot of the businesses are really cool, really neat. And so, yeah, I feel like if I was going to write this whole book about this town, and if I didn't put this thing at the end about, like, if you're ever, I'm not assuming, by the way, that this book is going to make anybody want to come to Pendleton. Like, that was not my intent at all.
It's gonna,
No, I don't.
it will.
But if it does, then in the off chance, maybe go to Jimmy's Dairy Bar and get a butterscotch milkshake. Like, that's the whole idea. Like, don't go to the house. Go treat yourself to a nice little coffee or something. And so that was just the idea. Was if I want to shine, if I'm going to write a whole book shining a light on this town, then I want to shine a light on the actual contributing factors to this town that are ongoing and in places that I enjoy. So that was the whole point,
Yeah. No, I
really.
like that. It
Yeah.
was a good touch at the end. And, but
Thank
here's
you.
what it does too. Like, it does what you did during this conversation, which makes it feel pulled from reality, but it makes it more compelling. Like, there's a thing that you did, and I'm not going to say what you did or when, but like it makes it feel like there's something perpetual about this that feel like so like it infuses it with a feeling of like I got a lot of, and this is me not having seen this in a long, long time, but like very kind of Blair Witchy kind of
Mm-hmm.
feel where it's like it feels very by the nature of what it is tied to a location that is real, and and because of your personal connection to it and everything, the lines between fiction and reality are naturally blurred, and so I think that there's something that's compelling about we want to believe it could be something extraordinary, and so I feel like that's a
Mm-hmm.
really good quality of this story.
Oh, thank you. I was, yeah. I mean, that's definitely Blair Witch. Is definitely Blair Witch actually impacts one significant sequence in the book that I wish I could tell. Like, that definitely kind of borderlines on, like, okay, spoiler. But I also feel like it's one of those things where if people knew the exact, and it goes hand in hand with your how things kind of are repeating, or how
Yeah,
destiny, or how not destiny, but like things, how sometimes you're destined to end up in a place regardless of the journey you take. and
sure.
and and the sequence I'm talking about is when Paul is watching his 10-year-old self with the camcorder walk through the
Yep,
big bars, right?
yep, yep,
And how that sequence ends. I can't, I don't want to say it, but like, I'll say, I wish, I hope people pay attention to what happens in that scene and what happens maybe further down the road in
yeah,
the story,
yeah,
and so that was very much like Blair Witch to me. Was and I love Blair Witch Project dearly, and so I wanted that found footage aspect in the
yeah,
in the novel somewhere, and so, yeah, that was the way to do it, but it was also a way to sort of honor that time. Like, is time tricky? Like, what's the,
yep.
like, where are we? And so, anyway, yeah, it's a great point,
Yeah,
for
like
sure.
there's like you, and like that is something that's kind of like woven without not that specifically, but like a distortion of reality, at least for
Hmm.
Paul, where
Hmm.
like he sees things that like maybe that didn't actually happen, but like
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
these horrifying moments for him. Um, which then, now that you told me this was inspired by a nightmare, it almost feels like Paul is being kind of like hit with these like waking nightmares of things throughout
Hmm.
the story. Yeah,
Yeah. I think he's being hit with a lot of stuff, and I think, he's being, what is true and what is not. Like, what is, so for instance, when uh you know how he gets the idea to start the 8114 podcast, which I don't think is a spoiler at all. That's the whole point. That's the whole subject matter of the book. But it could be argued or said that maybe that idea comes from the property itself, because
yeah,
it's echoed through the chief on the property, like,
yeah,
where they was it laying seeds, and so you or was it just Paul's ridiculous
Paulness.
train of thought. Yeah, his Paulness, like, or so there is a thing that you can't trust yourself, but can you trust anything else? Can you trust whatever you're seeing? Can you not trust whatever you're seeing? Um, and that's the thing, is like you want to believe, you want to trust everything. That's it. But at the same time, your dead best friend is talking to you and walking,
Right.
like and so it's like, are you? So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely supposed to make you second guess everything that Paul's going through, but also second guess like everything maybe you as a reader are going through, or
Yep.
seeing, or thinking about what you know about things.
Um, kind of final thoughts on this book. And my joke came up with a joke earlier that I forgot to tell. Now you're going to tell me that the cover photo with the creepy thing in the doorway, that creepy thing in the doorway was really there.
No, 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 no. That's made up of everything. Yeah.
Um, it's a scary book. It's a fun. There's levity to the book.
Yeah.
It gives light to a place that probably very few people even knew about before. But goddamn, man, that it's got a hauntingness to it where it's like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh. It's like I think it's bullshit when people say they threw a book across the room, because I don't think people actually do that. But
Right.
I could definitely feel like, maybe instead of this, like a little bit more,
Yeah,
like
like yeah.
I
Like
need
a
to get a
pull
safe
away. Yeah,
space.
yeah, pull it
Yeah.
away. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I just, my thing is, if I've had to live with this thing for my whole life, then I'm, God damn it, the readers are all going to have to live with it for a little bit. They
yeah.
gotta deal with the creepiness factor for a bit. Uh, so it's yeah.
Um,
I'm just so happy people are finding it scary and not cheesy or hokey.
yeah. Well, and seems like Clash did a good job with it. Like it's laid
Yeah,
out nice. That is like the cover is creepy as hell.
yeah.
Um, I think there's something. It's kind of obvious why it would be the title, but there's something to a title that's so simple and
Mhm,
not obvious that I
mhm.
think sometimes works really well. And I think in this case, yeah,
Yeah. It was
like
always the
not,
title. It was always going to be, like the working title was The Haunting of Hull House,
yeah,
which, like was so basic and so, but genuinely it was always going to be 8114. And that cover, like the cover we tried, that was actually like not a last minute thing, but we were actually going to use a picture of the actual wallpaper from the house that my mom took years. Like my mom put the wallpaper up, and I went inside the house after I got over my bullshit. I actually went into the house, took a bunch of pictures, and the wallpaper was going to be the cover for a little bit. And then there was a book that came out that had it just came out earlier this year that had wallpaper. I forget the name of it, but and it was a really cool cover that sort of was doing the same thing. And then we it was just the idea was to try and make it work with the address, like a mailbox or something like that, because it
oh
was
yeah,
the address.
hmm,
But at the same time, um, we just kept going at it with some ideas, and really came up with that one, and luckily the title still worked and really didn't take away from anything, and yeah, so that all goes like Clash just being so patient and having some great ideas on the
yeah,
cover. Yeah.
yeah, worked out nicely. Scared the shit out of me, man.
Sorry about that. Sorry, and I want to point out that the little demons throughout the book, those are done by my
Yeah.
brother, who actually lived in the house as well. So
Oh,
so
cool.
his little demon artworks are spread about
That's
the
a
pages.
that's a good point, and I forgot. So the fact that you brought that up makes me very happy, because that was something that I have a very when I read stories, I look for rules, and then I look
Hmm.
for those rules being followed or broken. That's a big
Hmm.
thing for me,
Hmm.
because in storytelling, like if you set a rule, you have to interact with it in one of those
Hmm.
two ways, and it has to like support what's happening in the story. So
Yep.
I look for that, but I also look for thematic elements
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
And so the thing I noticed was like, that's not part of every chapter, but it's part of
Hmm.
some chapters.
Hmm. Hmm.
And sometimes there's chapter numbers and
Hmm.
sometimes not.
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really kind of crack a code or something. So was you don't have to you don't have to tell me specifically if it's something clever that I missed, but like was there an intentionality to how that was approached?
Um, there was with the demons. The other stuff not so much. But the demons were definitely maybe if they're at the front of a chapter, you maybe know something's going to go down in that chapter, or something is going to, some scary shit maybe is going to happen, but the other stuff is like, the only real thing was chapter 14, right? Is the big
Mm-hmm.
difference point that breaks sort of all and that was just, I thought that was a cute thing that I didn't think was going to make it all the way to the end, actually, and so I was surprised that it stayed, but I'm happy it did. But yeah, so no, there was no real code or anything, but the demons were placed where they needed
Intentionally,
to
yeah.
be. Yeah, yeah, and that was it. And
Mm.
that, and again, that goes to Clash for being so supportive of that, because when I pitched him that idea, because my brother's a tattoo artist, so he does, and he has all these little like and I love these little demons, and so I just wanted to honor, like, since because I come from a big family, right? And so, like, Brady Bunch size family, and so I couldn't write this story about 7 kids growing up in this house, and so, like, I kind of had to ditch the family aspect of it, but I still wanted to include a familial aspect of it. And so when I approached them and was like, can we sprinkle these little dudes throughout, and they were like, yes, let's,
Nice.
that's a cool idea. And so yeah, it was so just, they've been fantastic, they've been wonderful to work with, and they've done a killer job getting the book out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. So what is there a project you're working on now? Like a book or whatever?
So yeah, I mean, I'm always working on stuff. I'm working on a lot of screenwriting movie projects right now. That's kind of the majority of my time at the moment. But I do think that, and there's been a lot of stuff that was supposed to happen, a lot of books that were possibly going to happen, but just schedule and other things have kind of interfered with those things happening, or just plans have changed. But I do believe that my next book with Clash will be 2027. And it's just, it's a process I'm just now getting started on. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's gonna be um, a bit of a wait for the next book, but that's okay, because I think, like, it's with Mouth last year, and then this year. It's like,
Yeah.
I really hope to put a big focus on, like, the movie stuff for the remainder of this year, then next year, and then yeah, have the next book out in I think same about August 2027. I think is what we talked about. So yeah,
Nice.
and it's going to be a
Um,
little. It's not going to be a straight horror. It's not going. I don't think any babies are going to die in that one yet. But again, we're just getting started. So but it's going to be more of like a dark comedy thing. It's not going to be a straight horror book like 8114. So it'll be more of a mix of, like, comedy and fucked upness, I think.
until you have another nightmare.
Yeah,
So
until I change everything by trying to sleep. Yeah.
the the thought that comes to mind, and I've talked to people about similar thing in different in the past, but let's say 8114 8114, I guess is how you've been saying it. Like does well.
Mhm.
Are we returning to Pendleton at any point, or do you feel like this story is told?
That's a good question, and it's a question that I'm now starting to get asked a lot, which is weird because I haven't been asked. Nobody's like, like, I've joked with Lisa about, like, doing a sequel,
Yeah,
because it does sort of tee up maybe a
yep,
certain, but there's also, like, the years prior, like,
yeah.
there's Paul growing up, there's everybody,
There's
and
old
so
old time.
there's
Yeah,
all the stuff that Nancy could talk about, right? And so I think I will never say never, but have I thought about it in a serious way? Probably not. But there's also, like, the aspect of I am tinkering with the screenplay,
Okay.
and how
Yeah.
I would do that. And part of my brainstorming for that is maybe it's not necessarily a straight adaptation. Maybe it's this
In the
character at the
world of.
end
Yeah.
coming to like maybe it's a so I'm still figuring it all out. But if it's again, I didn't plan to write the first 8114 until I had that nightmare. And so, it's like, so if 8115 comes about because I have another nightmare, then, it's, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, there's always more stories in this place and in Pendleton, especially, especially with a lot of those characters that we meet or are referenced. So yeah, I'll never say never, but right
Yeah.
now I don't have plans for that.
Well, I would definitely read that. I haven't shit my pants enough about Pendleton yet, I guess. So.
Yeah. Now I'm just gonna move to every state,
Yeah.
every town in Indiana is gonna have a book. No, yeah. You'll be one
um,
of the first ones to know if I decide. Yeah.
nice, very cool. So, of all the stuff we talked about, I think the most important thing that I'm taking away from this conversation is that at some point we are going to do a podcast about the Nice Guys, or Edgar
Yeah.
Wright, or
Yeah.
both. Like,
Yeah. Just don't say
uh,
podcast and stuff, right? Just say. But yeah, no, yeah, that would be great. No, yeah,
oh my god.
it would
Um,
be.
so there's been times in the past. So Stephen Graham Jones, I was talking to when they did that special re-release of Demon Theory a couple years
Mhm.
back, and in that conversation, I think that's where I really learned how big of a fan of Justified he is. And I was like, oh, I just want to sit and talk to Stephen Graham Jones for
Yeah.
hours about Justified. And so like
It's the same
I
thing with like
so
slasher films with him. When I read his books, I'm just like, oh my god, like he knows like
yeah.
everything about slasher film. He's like just having a cut. Like I've never met him personally. We talked. He sent me an email after he read Mouth, which was very sweet. Like
Yeah.
he sent me a nice email, and I was like, oh my god. But I was like, that's cool. But let's talk about movies. Like I want,
Yes.
But yeah. It's just
That's the joke in you. You couldn't take a compliment. You had
yeah,
to
yeah,
throw a
yeah,
joke
yeah,
out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He is one of those like if you said describe Stephen Graham Jones in like one word, I wouldn't say writer. I would say fan. Like
yeah,
he
yeah.
is so in love with stories in general. And he just happens to also have a great mind for
Right,
remembering things.
right.
Like when he consumes something, it seems like he actually cares about it.
Yep.
Um, and so like that's my overall impression of him is like, dude's just a huge fan. And
Yeah, yeah.
so it doesn't matter to him, like if it's from a specific person, he's going to check something out. And if it's
Right,
good, that's
right.
the important thing. Yeah.
And I think that's what and I think I hope more people are like that, but also I hope if they're not, I hope more people become open to like celebrating what they love
Yeah.
and like and sharing it with anybody and everybody, like it's and I think that's the crucial part about what what he does with his reach and with his like that guy can turn so many, like if he was to say,
Yeah.
hey, watch the Nice Guys, there'd be a sequel like tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and so I think that's just the thing is all of us should be fans. We are all fans of stuff, and we should just talk about it more, even
Yeah.
if it is like like and I know he does that in his work, but like that's what I try to do and with all my references
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah. Well, you just made me think of something. I was talking to Clay McLeod Chapman about how like it's how important it is to like openly celebrate the things that we have
yep,
um, enjoyed, and those are the kind of presences online that I
yep,
kind of gravitate toward, or
yep.
not the people who are like me. It's the
Right,
people
right.
who are like this
Them,
is
them, them, or that, that,
right.
that. Yeah. Yep.
But that reminds me of a point I forgot to make, and so I'm glad that my mind went down that little path. Um, Character names in your book. Are there any subtle references to authors? Because I found a couple that may exist, but that could just be me reading into it.
Oh. In 8114?
Yeah.
Hit me with what you think.
Uh, Producer Rachel's last name is McLeod.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. You know, like and Clay's super rad, and Clay blurred both these books, right? Like
Yeah.
he blurred, but yeah, definitely. That's
There's Paul Early. I thought maybe Paul Tremblay, but
yep,
that's a
yep.
okay.
And, because of early stages of pitching this book, it was very much like it's sinister by way of Paul Tremblay, like you
Yeah,
know, and so it was very much like I'm just gonna name the guy Paul because you know, like because
I love it.
and I'm a
Yeah.
massive fan of Paul Tremblay, so it's like you know, yep, so yep,
I have
bingo.
one other. This is a reach.
Grady Hendrix.
Um,
Oh yeah, no.
the Nancy Hart. Yeah, I thought this might be a reach. So, because it's not a horror person, but
oh
author Rob Hart.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah,
Nancy was like a just a Pendleton name. Like there's been so many people that like I've grown up with named Nancy, and then Hart was just yeah. I kind of was my way of saying she's like the heart of the town, you know. But it's a
I
little
love it. I love
generic,
it.
a little cheesy. But you know, yeah. But definitely, you know, we can say that you're
Well,
you're doing, and then
so
yeah.
and I was like, he's more of a crime person, and so like that doesn't really fit. But he also like was really involved in Lit Reactor, and if like you ever had
Oh yeah,
any
no,
affinity
yeah,
for Lit Reactor,
I
so that
did,
was my
but yeah, no, that just happens to be what a coincidence there.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was yeah. I wish I would have said yes, absolutely.
Well, you can posthumously like not posthumously, but after the fact, like.
Oh yeah, no,
But
I think once the book comes
don't
out, like pass
don't
away.
posthumously do anything. Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, I'm glad that I got those two references right, and I'm
Yeah,
glad that I kind of after the fact retconned Rob Hart into the situation.
yeah,
But
yeah.
overall, dude, just a fantastic book. So
Thank you so much.
I'm so grateful when someone spends all the time that they do to like create something because it's not easy. Otherwise, we'd all be making our own stories. So thanks so much for like making this thing and putting it out in the world because it was damn entertaining, and I hope a lot of people love it.
Yeah, I hope that as well. But you know, I even if they don't, it's been such a cool experience, and like just genuinely like having you and everybody else sort of, you know, champion this thing, this weird demented thing, because I know it's not the easiest book to like get behind, right? And so it's just been so cool to see the reaction and support from
Yeah.
everyone. So thank you for giving it a chance and for being so cool about it and for having me on.
Yeah. Well, do you have? I know you have a signing in Noblesville, Indiana, on the
Yep,
30th of August. Oh, I should say the book comes out on the 26th of August, so we've
yep,
got a couple. It's 2 weeks from the day we're recording,
yep. Yep.
so pre-orders are still a thing. Pre-orders are super important, so do that or buy it when it comes out. But other than that, are you doing any other kind of in live appearances or podcasts or?
Doing a lot of podcasts at the moment. But yeah, you know, the Barnes and Noble thing is kind of it for a little bit. Just you know, kind of taking it a little easy on this release. But you know, I'm around. It's easy to find me, and it's you know easy to get books from me if you want. You know, hopefully. So yeah, no, that would be the only one at the moment.
Awesome. Well,
So
Josh, thanks so much. It was an awesome conversation, and I'm looking forward to 2027 when you can scare me or
yeah, just
dark
making you
humor
laugh.
me. I guess
Just make it
that's
make it
fine too.
cringe with humor. Yeah,
But
so
yeah, thanks so
awesome.
much for joining me. It was awesome.
No, this is great. Thank you so much.